Hi, my name is Emily. If you're here, you probably already know this, but my name is Emily. I'm an expat from America living in Madrid, and I have been meaning to sit down and record this video for a very long time, but this is how I came to live in Spain this year. So I've got my notes, I've got my tea, and I am ready to go. So first things first, what do I do while I'm here? So I'm a language assistant with the community of Madrid. So I work at a public school. I am an English language assistant. So I work with the school from October 1st to June 30th, 4 days a week. I have every Monday off. Other schools, they have every Friday off. It depends on what school you go to, they'll give you one, but they're not going to give you something random like a Wednesday. It'll always be a Monday off or a Friday off, so that you have 3-day weekends every weekend. Yes, it is as amazing as it sounds, and no, it doesn't get old. It's great. So I work 16 hours a week. That does mean that I lesson plan on my own, but lesson planning is usually not too hard, as I'm not usually teaching the entire lesson. Some classes, that does happen, but in my case, it's not very common. Usually what I do is I bring in a game or an activity. So when I lesson plan on my own, I find a game or an activity to bring into school that relates to the subject matter that we're working with, depending on the class that I'm working on. And yeah, it just helps expose the students to more English, because, you know, hearing a native speaker is very helpful for them, and hearing how I would use the words in a natural context and then them being able to use those words right back to me is really good. And so I help the teachers make sure that they're using correct English, and I help the students make sure that they're improving their English, and it's all around a really good exchange. So I love my job, and that's what I get to do here. I basically get to bring games and fun, and I'm the chaos bringer for every class, and it's fantastic. So the timeline for me, I chose to go with CIEE. And this is most of what this video is about. So in late April, I started looking at ways that I could work internationally and seeing, you know, what I would be able to do, and if I could travel and work at the same time. So I already spoke a little bit of Spanish, so that is what I applied. That is the country I started looking for. Any country where I could speak Spanish and teach. And Spain already had a very highly spoken of program. So end of April, I applied to be a language assistant. A week later, around May 1st, I got my acceptance letter. So June, May, I spent the entire month just being super excited, and, you know, thinking about, oh, what do I need to prepare, how am I gonna do this, because keep in mind, it was still 2020 when I was applying, and there were a lot of questions and a lot of uncertainties. So that was May. June, I started looking for paperwork. July, I started working on a TEFL, not a requirement, but recommended, I think, by the programs, because if you have no teaching experience going into a class thinking, you know, some people can just plan lessons and they just completely understand it, but I wasn't one of those people, and I'm very glad that I had a TEFL class just to give me an idea of what I needed to do and how to organize a class, how to talk to a class and teach children, because it's very different than, you know, teaching other adults. So yeah, June and July, TEFL, paperwork. Then August, early August, I applied for my visa. A few weeks later in September, I had to go pick it up. And then that night I came home, I booked my flight, and within like 3 or 4 weeks, I was on a flight to Spain. So I believe I got here September 26th, and I started work October 1st. So, CIEE application requirements. If you're applying with CIEE, you need to be a native level English speaker. You need to have a bachelor's degree in any subject: computer engineering, teaching, theater, anything. You need to be from the US, Canada, Australia, Ireland, or New Zealand. That is it. That is all the countries that CIEE accepts. You have to be 59 years of age or younger. And no requirements for TEFL, no requirements for teaching experience, and you do not have to speak Spanish. I recommend it, at least learn a few phrases, but you don't have to speak any Spanish before you come here. And unofficially, you need about $2,000 to get settled here. I know that sounds like a lot and that might seem excessive, but that includes, I think that includes your flight. That includes 2 months rent, because you need 1 month for, well, the first month's rent and another month to put down your security deposit. You need to have an Airbnb while you look for that apartment. You have a lot of things that you need to do, and you have to feed yourself while you do all that. And well, it's your first month in Spain, so you're probably gonna want to go out a little bit, at least safely, but still go out, because you're in a new country. There are new things to experience, new places to be, new things to eat. It's great. As you can see from my other episodes, there are great things to eat here. So $2,000 is a good baseline to start with. Then there are the pros and cons. I'll start with the cons because it's probably the biggest one that I had to consider before coming here. There is a $1,200 application fee with CIEE. That is a pretty hefty price tag, given that the ministry application is free. All of these pros and cons are keeping in mind that the ministry application is free and that was my other option. And there's also a small list of countries. So there are other countries that you can be from if you go directly through the Ministry of Education here in Spain. And you would just have to get like an English certification, basically, if you came from a specific list of countries. So totally possible. It's just extra. So the pros for CIEE, why I chose them. The two biggest reasons are being placed in Madrid and having visa guidance. So, the Madrid placement, I knew that I would be placed in the community of Madrid. If you go with the ministry, they give you like 3 options to pick through. But with CIEE, I had a guaranteed placement in the city. And as far as I can tell, they try to get you as close to the center as they can. Of course, they can't get you right there, but they get you as close as they can. And being here next year, I can renew with the ministry because I know I like my school. I know I would be happy to come back here. So now I don't have to pay for CIEE next year, and I already have a placement that I enjoy, and I already know the area that I want to live in. So it's very nice to have been placed in Madrid. Second, not the visa guidance, orientation. I really enjoyed that when I got here at the end of September, that I had 2 nights in a hotel, which is included in the $1,200, and an orientation where they like had someone who had lived here with their program for about 6 months to a year or so come with you and show you around the city. You and a couple of other people who had come to be language assistants, they take you around the city, they show you some things, they talk to you, they ask if you have any questions, and they're kind of just there if you need anything. Like, I'm sure I could still talk to my orientation leader and say, hey, I need help finding this, or you know, if I have any questions about the program, I could have asked her. So it's very good to have resources, and since you're in a group, you're gonna make friends. And they did a very good job at helping us facilitate making friends, finding roommates, things like that, because they sort of fostered a sense of community. A lot of the friends that I currently hang out with, the American friends, are from CIEE. So it worked out pretty well. The visa guidance, that is probably the biggest one. I was so nervous about getting my visa and getting my TA, Tarjeta de Identidad Extranjero, which is your, you know, foreigner's identity card, basically, your Spain ID. And I was so nervous. I didn't know what paperwork I needed or anything about the program to get my visa or my TA. And then the fact that your visa is only valid for 90 days when it's issued to you, and you have to get your TA within 90 days of that, and that seemed very short But CIEE was so helpful in getting my visa and telling me exactly how to do it, especially given that 2020 was not the easiest time to move abroad. But it's fine, it worked out. And yeah, so they taught me how to do it, but the biggest thing for me was that I still had to do it myself, so that next time, if I ever need to get a visa again, now I'm more familiar with the process. It's not going to be as daunting. This is information that I will probably use for the rest of my life. Other things include the TA guidance. When I got here, it was different than other years trying to get the foreigner's identity card for Spain. So having them there to walk us through it, and they got me an appointment when it was very difficult to get appointments due to the quantity of people who needed them. So they helped me a lot with getting established in Madrid, and I'm very grateful that they were there to help me with all of that. And so if I did it again, I thought about this a lot, I would probably still go with CIEE, but it's because I had the funds too. And so in total, moving to Spain probably cost me about $3,500. And that's USD, that's not euros. Because, it's a $1,200 application fee, and you need about $2,000 to move here. And then there's the probably just under $200 worth of application fees between the $160 for your visa and like $15 for your TA, and then I think I paid like $5 for some other little piece of paper. I think it was like an apostille attached to my federal background check, but there was a lot. And then there are incidentals that you have to pay for, like postage and things that you need to travel. If you don't have a big suitcase, you need one. Moving internationally is no small feat. So because I had the money to, I believe I would do it again. If I didn't have the money, I think it absolutely would have been reasonable to go through the ministry, but I'm glad with the choice I made. And if you have any questions about whether or not to choose CIEE, by all means drop them in the comments. I will say that this job has been one of the best decisions I've ever made. I love living in Spain. I love working with my students, and having the classes and the class experience that I do is going to help me for a long time, probably throughout my entire life. And now I've found a love for teaching and education that I didn't know that I had or was capable of. So I sincerely recommend it, whether you go through CIEE, the ministry, or another company like, organization like Beta or USITAM or Medeus or any of those. I fully recommend this program. If you can afford it, it has been the experience of a lifetime. All right. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. In the meantime, make good choices. Have a great day. Bye.